Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to another edition of Solutions Watch. I'm your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, coming to you in March of 2025 with a hopefully handy little idea for you. And that idea relates to something that we've talked about on Solutions Watch before. For example, I hope you remember my video on Wiki Spooks and Little Sis back in 2022, where I talked about a couple of different sites and ideas for how to start identifying and naming the enemy. By which I mean, wouldn't it be nice, with all this transparency by which they, them, those surveil us, wouldn't it be nice to turn the gaze around and be able to keep track of them? And I talked about some ways that you can do that. For example, SourceWatch, Little Sis, Open Secrets, Wiki Spooks, some of these types of websites that exist that keep track of the players on the global stage. And so today we're going to look at a different idea for doing exactly that, and it relates to something that I know you know by now, but let's play it for you anyway.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.
Crisis, we penetrate the cabinet. Yes, we all know that clip by now, right? And what is he talking about there? Oh, that's right, the Young Global Leaders Club of the World Economic Forum. What is that exactly? What is its significance, and how do they penetrate the cabinets? Well, in order to talk about that topic, we're going to bring on a guest who knows a thing or two about that, because he has developed at least a tool for keeping track of such things. His name is John Sneisen. He is at theeconomictruth.org, but for today's purposes, we're going to be talking about a different website. We're going to be talking about younggloballeaders.club. So, John Sneisen, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, James. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's talk about this idea. So, of course, again, people have probably seen that clip of Schwab talking about penetrating the cabinet, but what does that mean? What is the Young Global Leaders Club? And how and why did this come on your radar, and why did you start researching it?
Well, so I've kind of focused on a lot of different like sub clubs and so on. My focus is finance. So through my focus on finance, I found places like the Financial Stability Board and others, and then of course the Davos crowd, which is the World Economic Forum, automatically comes on the screen because when you look at the people involved here, it's not just the cabinets, it's the world. And they actually have, basically penetrated all kinds of different places, from NGOs to media to corporations to, all the financial institutions around the world, to every, world leader around the world, a lot of them. And so they've been able to use this Young Global Leader Network. And it used to actually, before it was Young Global Leaders, it was Global Leaders for Tomorrow. So a lot of the records that have been out there have only shown the Young Global Leaders, but, until I think it was 2004, 4, when a guy called, what was his name now? He's actually in Japan. A lot of times he's a central banker / banker that leaked the actual group and the list initially of the global leaders for tomorrow. And then suddenly, when that happened, they changed their name, not to Global Leaders for Tomorrow, but conveniently Young Global Leaders, because Global Leaders for Tomorrow sounds pretty obvious. So very interesting. But it started in 1992. Started the first program that they had, and that's when they initially created the first class of the Young Global Leaders. And interestingly enough, there's some key people that was even in that first class. I think Bill Gates was in it. And then Angela Merkel was in the first class. And believe it or not, but this program is not just, an invitee thing or whatever, Tulsi Gabbard liked to say, oh, they name you. And then it's like, oh, no, I was not involved whatsoever. Well, actually, when you're a young global leader, you go to school for a 5-year program at Harvard called, the program is called Emerging Leaders. And so that program is a 5-year program that is held in school, by the way, in person, It says on the website, and you can go and click on the link and see it. And they teach you about, how to be a good leader, for the world, and, follow certain aspects of what that entails to be a good leader for, the people that tell you how you should be, a good leader. And so you get this network of a whole bunch of very powerful individuals. And I like to see when they mention little articles about Jamie Dimon, how Jamie Dimon suddenly came to be, and all these people. But what I found was that a lot of these people, they was a part of this, and then they became huge. It wasn't just that they became something and then they then got attached to the Young Global Leader Network or the Global Leaders for Tomorrow. It was actually the opposite way. And when you do dig in the network and the web of things, that you love to do, you do find there's certain institutions that a lot of people were at first. For example, McKinsey & Co. Or Boston Consulting Group, which is government, organization or consulting groups that, for example, the McKinsey Group, during COVID had several groups in several countries telling the government how to approach lockdowns and so on for individuals. So just little things like that.
Interesting. Yeah. So not only, this is the Young Global Leaders Club is one way of getting a window into the larger network and the various connections. So I imagine you can start digging up connections like that between various groups, institutions, corporations, etc. That
and it
tend
was
to,
Yeah, and it was very useful, when I started because I had to manually, data entry everything. I have it in a spreadsheet, so people can actually go on the website, scroll to the bottom, I think, and then there's a link to the
let's do that.
newly
In fact,
updated.
I wanted to do a sort of run through of the website for people who have never been to it. So let's do that. And the first thing I notice, of course, is this little pop up on "Let me know if you have any questions." And I haven't even tried this yet. So what happens when we actually click on that?
And nothing real. It's just a chat that goes directly to me, and I could respond to people. So yeah, if they have any questions.
All right. Well, anyway,
nothing important.
So if I scroll to the bottom, what am I going to find?
Let's see here. Let's scroll. I don't use this site a lot, but I do use it. So if you scroll to the bottom, let's see. Scroll up again. I think I have it further up then. It is. Let's see here. No. Oh, you know what? Where it is? Sorry, James. It is not on this website. It's actually on the search. So we gotta go to search the list. I'm sorry.
Search the list here. All right. That sounds like a place to start. Okay.
Yeah. So basically go to search the list, and this is the prompt that you can search everything. But if you scroll down on search the list, let's just do that first. You'll find some point. Yeah, there you go. There it is. So that is the added with the 2024 Young Global Leaders list. So every year they have a class that's, anywhere from 80 to 110, usually people that they choose, pick and choose to be the next, great leaders of this world that they're going to promote and that they're going to further the agenda of the SDGs. And, basically I call the World Economic Forum the UN's corporate arm. They use, they have mostly corporations, but a lot of government people, but mostly corporate people. And so they basically use that as a great connection to make it true global fascism is, you got to connect the governments with, the corporations. And so it's the Davos crowd, the World Economic Forum, is a perfect entity to accomplish this. And then through, I remember when I was young, I was a part of an organization called Junior Chamber International, and people can look this up. I thought it was, great coaching opportunity to really learn how to be eloquent and, learn different things. We learned about neuro-linguistic programming, how to manipulate people and, use body language to kind of, turn a conversation to a certain way or be more, have people accept you better and so on. And after a while, I was involved in that. But then I woke up in 2008 and I suddenly found out that, oh, wait, I looked at, there was a little emblem showing like a weapon shield with, oh, what is that in the middle? Oh, it's the UN. So it was the UN youth group, for crying out loud, that I was a part of for a few years. And yeah, you know what? It's they use these groups though, and that's how they kind of get you. They get you involved and teach you, good presenting skills and how to get out there and manipulate people. And then they, be like, hey, I watched some of the people that I was involved with, and they were in the UN right now and in different other positions. So it's like, oh yeah, that's what you guys were up
It's
to.
a way up the ladder. This is the thing. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
the world of the globalists and their networks operate fundamentally differently than the world that we
Mm-hmm.
grow up in. It's just that you may think networking is meeting, business people in your area or making connections with people who have, businesses or what have you, so that you can get a job or something. Well, this is the same thing. It's just on the global
Oh yeah.
scale. And
Yeah,
how do you do
exactly.
that? You start at the bottom of the ladder and you climb your way up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And they, try to find the most, well, I guess you need certain skills, to be,
Hmm.
being pushed higher up on the ranks. But,
Yeah.
and I don't know exactly I would love to see what that process would be like for them to be like, oh yeah,
Maybe we
let's pick,
wouldn't, to be honest, given the types
no,
of blackmail and whatever is
yeah,
used in
well,
these
yeah,
clubs. But
yeah,
but
that is true.
let's give
Yeah.
people an example of how this works. So,
Yeah.
for example, I'm Canadian, so I am fairly sure Chrystia Freeland was a young global leader, right? So if I type in her
Let's have a
name,
look.
am I going to be able to find her?
Well, let's see.
Yeah, there she is. All right,
There she
cool.
is.
So, young global leader date 2000 and 2004. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, apparently, I do not know how accurate that is, but that is from the actual leaked documents, plus,
Okay.
the main documents. So it seems
Government
like,
of Canada Finance. Okay, other important positions: Member of Parliament, University, Rosedale, Finance Minister, Deputy PM, Board of Trustees of Klaus Schwab's WEF. Yeah, that's pretty important. Chosen
yeah.
as chair for a cabinet committee on the federal response to COVID-19. Yeah, all right. Lots of. This is interesting. So, how on earth did you pull all of this information in? Because were you
Well,
doing this for
it
each
was
person?
that. Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, and it was pretty grueling. I think I used like half a year, to be honest with you, like putting all
Yeah.
these number and names together. And luckily, one of my friends, he gave me a little bit of money, and his name is Matthew Smith. He's a good friend of Doug Casey. I don't know if you ever watched their
Yeah.
podcast, but he was able to fund me a bit, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. So, yeah, I just sat there, and this was during the lockdown, so me
Mm,
not taking anything, I was basically unwelcomed,
yeah.
anyway. So I was like, well, I might as well expose these bastards. Sorry for my
Yeah.
language, but
Why not? All right.
yeah. So,
Well, how about I'm curious now. I just want to play around with this
and
because
he is
I saw
not
Mark
there.
Carney on the front page there. But he's not a young global
Mm-mm.
leader. It
No,
seems like
not a
he
young
wouldn't
global.
line up with the dates because he was
No.
already,
Yeah.
in the club in the '80s. I
A-
think.
And see, that's the thing. It's like they got the website, which any name could be on, but that's if you attended any meetings in Davos. Like they actually have you on list. Oh, like, oh, look at this guy attended a meeting. So it's not like people were like, oh, this guy was, like he's a World Economic Forum. Well, he actually attended a meeting. He not necessarily aligned with them.
Yeah.
Like certain people have been there and
Right.
had a
Right.
speech
Well, okay.
or
So,
just
for example,
went out.
that was Tulsi Gabbard's excuse, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know. She wasn't on the
Let's
Young
see.
Global Leader program, was she? Ah, she was. Okay. Well, there you go. 2015. All right, because yeah, I remember. I believe Derek Bros questioned her about that, right? And he got her to say on the record, "Oh yeah, yeah, or maybe that was Council of Foreign Relations because she's the CFR as well, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah. She's been pretty much everywhere. So there's certain people, and there's another guy that's heavily involved anti kind of climate change movement. Lomborg, I think he's a guy from Denmark, which is what is his name now? I forgot his first name, but
Bjorn? No.
Lomborg. Bjorn, yeah, exactly, Bjorn Lomborg, and so
Yeah.
he was a young global leader, and I don't think it's
Am I spelling his
search
name
just
wrong?
Lomborg, maybe.
Maybe it needs the umlaut or whatever.
Yeah, but what you could do here, so that's the name itself. So you
Yeah.
could search any type of name that you want, and there both the first name, last name by itself, and yeah, you could just search by name. But what you could also do is you could go further down, you got the date. So if you want to look at a specific class of people, like 1992 or any year, right? Like now you'll search
Okay.
up every class member of 2015, for example.
Yeah.
And so you can see who they were. So that is pretty cool. So you can kind of see who graduated together, and see, because then you could sometimes you actually make connections that some of these people are well aligned and friends, and guess what? They were young global leaders for 5 years together. For example,
Paul Desmarais. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jean Charest. Of course. Sheila Copps. Yeah. Wow. All right.
Well, yeah, this is kind of heaven for you, being a great researcher.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, it is, because it's like, it's not surprising, but it's good to have confirmation. So if I type in something like Bilderberg, will I get their Bilderberg connections here?
Well, that is position. So you would have to put in organization.
Right. I see.
And not only, you could search for Bilderberg in the other ones as well. So there you go. He like steering committee member. But there's also another way to search for Bilderberg. If you take Bilderberg and then post it into any of the other positions. So just search for one at a time.
Right, because they're in different slots. I get it.
Yeah, and see, those others, that's their whole bio. Oops. Like I basically copy pasted their whole damn bio into the others. So if you search one at a time, you could actually go in there and then find.
It'll be in one of these positions, right? Yeah, I get it.
So there you go, right?
Wallenberg, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
that is a little bit inconvenient. It would be nice if there was one way to search through all.
I wish I'd. Yeah, and I probably, when my geeks are done building the stuff that they're building now with the alternate stuff, I hope that we could make it a little bit more probable. Like I'm trying to, for example, like that you could click on nationality and then have a scrolling menu. But this is me being not a geek, putting it together. So that's what
still, my mind boggles at the amount of sheer data entry that would be required for this. How many people in total on this database?
Well, I think there was 3,600. If you actually, you could download the list. And
right, because it says 3,600 plus member list, right?
Yeah.
And that, so this is the 24 list, as in...
Yeah, so this one has updated
up to date to the 2024, but that includes everyone before 2024 as well.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. So it has every single person. And that will be updated every year when I have time. With 2025 is probably... I think it's coming up in a few months, the 2025 class, so that will be up there as well. And that is pretty cool too. So if you know how to search in Excel, for example, you can just download it and do the same searching that you do on the website. And then you have it offline, so nobody could touch it.
I could definitely play around with this for a long time. But sector, as in
banking,
like finance or something?
Government.
Right.
Yeah, banking, finance, government.
Right, okay.
And then if you scroll all the way down, James, scroll all the way down on that page. Just keep on. So see, go up. Just go up a bit to hit the bottom of that page. So see there, 717.
Yeah,
so
okay, right. And there's 30 pages of it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yep. So I would probably have to be a little more specific than sector finance. But
Paul
Krugman. Of course Paul Krugman is on here. Of course.
Yeah.
Lynn Forster de Rothschild, one of his classmates in 95. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. See, this is the kind of thing. This is research heaven, and it's amazing that this exists, and how many people even know this exists? Well, more know about it now, hopefully, but not enough. Still.
I tried to share with a few. I know that Whitney Webb have probably used it a few times, because I shared it with, we have a group called the Union of the Unwanted, and I think you've been on that group as well. Mm-hmm. And so at least all the people there know about it, and there's some pretty good researchers in there as well. So you just got to get it out to the people that really need it and use it. But listen to this. This is another approach that I found, is a lot of corporate leaders that I know. So I've done pretty well on LinkedIn, so I have a lot of interesting connections there. And what I found with a lot of the aligned people, that are aligned with our cause, that want individual freedom and so on, they'd be like, I want to see, I do bigger business deals. I want to see who I'm dealing with. So they actually have used that list and gone through and be like, no, I'm not dealing with you, kind of thing. So
there you go.
It's helpful for anyone, really. on any level.
Exactly, and why would anyone be ashamed of their connections, right? Wouldn't you brag? I'm a young global leader. I was chosen by the World Economic Forum, right, Tulsi?
And some of them do. You could find it right on the LinkedIn page, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very proud young global leaders.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah. And yeah, of course.
You could, and on top of that, James, sorry to interrupt you, you could actually, there's a link on every profile to Wikipedia or to any bio. So you can extensively then look,
right.
Where they're at today and so on. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So you can jump to their wiki. Although it's not a hyperlink, but yeah.
No, unfortunately.
Copy paste.
Yeah.
So I could just copy paste that into a new, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I wonder if I search wiki, it will not, for some reason, his Young Global Leader affiliation doesn't seem to come up. Huh?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I wonder why.
Some of them are not as proud as other. It's funny. It seems like a lot of the younger ones are more prouder than others about their... Oh, you know what? No, he's not a Young Global Leader. He was a Global Leader for Tomorrow. Because they had the name change. Remember, I think it was 2003 that the name did change.
Right, because yes, this is just the date, but yeah, in '94 it was called Global Leadership. So here's the real question: Vladimir Putin, race finance, and no. All right, there you go. There's the definitive answer, guys.
At least the official list, and who knows, with the sub list. But it makes sense that Trudeau is not a part of it. Trudeau is never a Young Global Leader because, they only pick people that seem to have a little bit of a brain, at least, to start with. Sorry, Trudeau, but
Well, it's very demonstrably true. But, honestly, that is an important point. Yes, they penetrated the cabinet because I think the understanding is, there are different centers of power. There's the figurehead. Mm-hmm. But if you surround the figurehead with all of these people who are telling him what to do and obviously running the economy and the finance.
Well, let's do a quick test. Did he penetrate the Canadian cabinet? So you go. Let's just go and look at that just for fun, quickly. So go just remove Putin, of course, and then what you're going to do is just put in nationality Canadian.
Yeah.
Let's just really take it down to the number, and then minister as a position.
And we are going to find. Oh yeah, okay.
But not current minute. But here you go. So. Here they come.
Shel Rempel, Korean Gold, Sean Fraser.
Yeah. So there's about 6 of them currently. And I think Carney kept pretty much most of them. So.
Yeah. What surprising. Yeah. But we already searched Carney. I was going to say Carney wasn't a member. Yeah.
Carney is I love how he calls himself an insider and no an outsider, and he's the ultimate insider.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, he's an outsider to the being selected, but he's definitely been involved in every major decision in the banking and finance world for the past couple of decades in Canada and England, and now through the UN globally. Yay!
And
totally an outsider guy.
One thing that people always forget about Carney is that he was the head of the Financial Stability Board. And that is a group of 20 central bankers that create the rules for every financial institution, all accounting. They have control over everything. And interestingly enough, one thing that we should really push out there about Carney is, he was in place as the head of the Financial Stability Board when they conveniently pushed the bail-in regime, which is basically that they could take your bank account and then bail out the bank with it. And that was Carney.
You have done your homework, John, and I'm very glad to see that because I don't think enough people know about that. I have definitely talked about that. I've had entire episodes about the bail-in regime and Financial Stability Board and Mark Carney. But yeah, it's time to bring that back to Canadians' attention, isn't it? And maybe it's high time that I do a deep dive on Meet Mark Carney. And maybe I'll be drawing on your resources on that,
please.
if I may. So,
you're more welcome.
Again, this is just such a simple simple thing. It took an awful lot of work, I can imagine, but it's such an important and powerful tool, not only for researchers who are researching on a deep basis, but just people who are curious. If you see the name coming across your news feeds, maybe just type them in. See if maybe they were a young global leader. It's something to at least use, right?
And through my research on the global leaders, I found another organization that's for the early youngsters. So the global leaders, or the Young Global Leaders Network, it's actually 30 to 40. So I just turned 41, so I cannot qualify anymore.
Darn it.
But what is interesting about it, and remember I told you about the UN youth organization. Well, the UN has like a youth organization that goes from 18 to 44. But the World Economic Forum, have their 30 to 40. That's their young global leaders. Then that's when they send them to Harvard to really get taught, the real ropes of, how are we going to do things in this world. There's also another organization which is spread far and wide to every university in every corner of the world, including here in Winnipeg, and that is the Global Shapers community. And so I had to add a tab to it. You can't really search on people very well in that network, but you can actually go and look at what's called their hubs, and then you can find hubs in your local community. And so,
and there's a whole tab here on Global Shapers community. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that's the young. So that's the 18 to 30. So that's where they bring them through now until they actually then become, a young global leader, and then that's when they really promote them to higher stage to give them the full Harvard education.
Yeah. All right. And here we are. Our hubs are vibrant teams of passionate people from all walks of life. Yada yada.
Oh, and there
right.
they let you search on country and so on. So yeah.
Oh, right. Yep. So just for a laugh. No, they're not gonna. Oh, because I'm in country. But okay, I get you. Does it go by city? Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There we go. The good old Calgary hub. And look at that beautiful high-resolution photo.
Yeah. Gotta keep their identity secret.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Again, a whole other field of research for people to open up and explore to your heart's content. Oh, my God. Okay.
But yeah, well, to me, though, it's so important what like these type of tools do. It's to help people, find out who these people are so they could avoid them and point them out to people, because I think it's very important to point out that this person it could be even local. Like I've seen like mayors of a lot of cities, so like you could actually point out these people and say like, I don't think they have my best interest because Young Global Leader and World Economic Forum aligns with what? Well, aligns with the SDGs and the UN's Agenda 2030, or what is the latest one that they just changed the name to? That's what they align with. And so maybe that's not the best values for our community.
Yeah.
So it's very important for people to, use that. And then, of course, like when I search this, the NGOs galore, of people. That's another one. You could just put in NGO and you'll find, I think, like 1,000 or something people that are NGO in the NGO sectors as well.
I have left the reservation here. Oh, because I'm here.
But what's funny, though, is I can't believe how I got the domain, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. But it is .club. And I don't think that's
I think it's more important though, because it is a club. It's not an organization, it's a club. In my view. So I think it's more fitting for them.
.club. Yeah. Great. Brilliant.
Oh, who said it? It's a club and you're not in it. What's his name again?
Yeah. Now that you say what's his name, I've forgotten his name. George Carlin.
Carlin, yeah. Yeah.
It's a big club and you ain't in it. Yeah, okay. So, all right. Excellent. I'm just putting this on the table for people to do with as they will. Obviously, the links will be in the show notes if you need them, but I hope people will use this very, very interesting resource. I know I will be consulting in this in my future reporting. But as I said, you are at theeconomictruth.org. That's your main website for people who don't know about you and your work. Tell people about your work here and what you do.
Well, so at the Economic Truth, my main focus is just economics, analyzing economic event and geopolitics. So I do I'm not as consistent as everybody else where I do a lot of podcasts on a consistent basis. I just don't have time. I have a full-time job, and then I'm starting up a big business as well on the side as I'm doing all this stuff. So it's not always time to do stuff, but I do try to have some good interviews and stuff on my podcast, which is the Economic Truth Report, and you can kind of click on there to find it. I do, yeah, you could click on the report there. So I
find the reports here, and it's on Odyssey. All right, good.
Yeah.
So it'll of course take a while to load, but there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have my Odyssey, so I do a bit of it, not like a ton of interviews, but I tried to put on really high quality content with I interviewed some Wall Street people. I interviewed a lady that was she was a what was it? She was a derivatives journalist during the 2008 derivatives bubble. And so she specialized in derivatives, and that was a very interesting conversation that we had. And so just trying to have unique people, but also people that your crowd knows very well, as well, like David Morgan and a bunch of others. So that's what I do, and then I've written a few books that has been out there since 2016. Yeah, I used to do the Tim and John podcast with Tim Pichot. That was fun. We were kind of warning about the whole COVID crisis and everything that was happening there. We did it for 2 years or so that was fun. And then I'm also a part of Freedom Force International, where I sit on the leadership board with Deirdre Griffin. So that is a great organization, which we created the Red Pill Expos. So that's a very fun organization to have been a part of. I was just recently down in South Dakota in Rapid City. We had a nice little event there with a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. So it's always fun. Yeah, just it's all the stuff that I've done and or I'm currently involved in, a little bit of my blogging.
Now, tell me about the Outernet Founders Box.
Yeah, so the Outernet Founders Box, I was actually down with Ernie, and that's when we talked when you were on Ernie's show on Wednesdays, and I sat up there for Ernie an actual. It's an offline capable chatting function. So we actually, I don't know if you have time for this, but we had fun climbing up a 2,900-foot mountain to put a damn relay on top of it. And so we had 80 pounds on our backs, and I was dragging an antenna half vertically up this damn mountain because Ernie, it's we're going to have a contest and nobody's going to come after this. The only guys are going to have to shoot it from a helicopter kind of thing. So it was probably one of the most, I've been in the military for a year with forced military in Norway. And so that was probably the worst thing I've done since that time. But it was really rewarding because what we did, we set up a wireless antenna that acts like a Wi-Fi access point, and then you can point a dish at it, at him and his friends right now, but there could be multiple, hundreds of people doing this, and they could then become a part of the network. And what we build with our Outernet is both offline and online capabilities, self-hosting and self-storage of data. So basically what we created, a very simple function of text messaging, and you just able to then text. If people, let's see, your own
social media, break free from ISP control.
Yeah, so
create your own private internet, unshackle your communications.
Yeah, so here I could actually, can I send a message in the chat here?
Yep.
So let's see here. If I go to Studio Chat, this is actually how it looks. So just showing people how it looks, but I can host my conversations, by going to this link. Basically it's still in alpha test or whatever, but you could then tap to share, for example, a link, and then send it back to me. And let's see if we can do this test live. I don't know how well it works.
Let's see. But let's do it live.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. So there we go. So I'll get that link from you. Okay, so it's 14.
Yes, I See that? I have no idea what's happening, but I'm seeing something.
Okay, so let's see now. So see that? What popped up there?
Yep.
Yeah. So go to click on that. That's my number. That's your number. Scroll up a little bit. You should have a message there, maybe.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
And
we're chatting.
Yeah, so there you go. And it's, as you can see, it's very fast. And this is actually like a self-hosted box. So let's see if I can just sneak it over here. And it's like a little mini computer. That's it. That's the thing that stores everything on it. And it, like, we installed one at Ernie's, and like this is what, you know, could be a quite the revolution, I believe, for anybody, like especially journalists these days, you know, that are hunted down for what they do. They could actually store and host their data on this, and now all the conversations that we write down will be on this box, and so it's not a big data or any government. Then it's
not going through any big tech platform. And if you are doing this through a self-hosted relay and a wireless mesh network, it's not even touching the internet, right?
No, exactly. And so it's very, very, very cool. Like I'm super excited about it. This is something, you know, I've been involved in this movement. I tried to be involved in certain projects, but there's so much overwhelming like tech guys that, you know, have such complex versions of what you want to use. And of course, Ernie, you know, being Ernie, he's like, I want a grandma button.
Yeah.
So,
the grandma
so
button. Yeah.
Which is really good, because it really pushes you to then develop something like this. And I think we got something that could be something hopefully quite big for everyone, because at one point very soon we are actually wanting to have a Telegram version of it. So guess what? Pavel Duro, you know, ended up having a gun pointed to it, had to give up his data. Well, with this, we could be like, they could come to me and point a gun to my head, but if 100 people has this device, I was like, I can't get to his device.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to get me? So there's no central authority that controls this whatsoever. And that is the key to a future of communication, in my view. And we have a grander vision where we actually want these devices to connect through both satellite and, you know, through wireless connections to each other without any internet service providers. Because as of, you know, lately, you know, in Africa and other countries, they're really starting to, you know, the ISPs are coming after you by the gun of the government, basically.
Exactly right.
Shut you down.
And at some point, it will be the biometric scan your thumb and scan your iris to get on the internet kind of thing. And it's time to start thinking about alternatives. Anyway, we have strayed into a whole other episode of Solutions Watch, I think. So let's dial it back. We'll come back to that at a future time. But yes, for today's purposes, at any rate, people want to start researching young global leaders and global shapers. Can do so through the resources at younggloballeaders.club. And of course, I hope they will check out your work more generally at theeconomictruth.org. But I think we'll leave it there for today. John, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
It's been a real pleasure, James, and I really appreciate you having me on. It means a lot to me, so appreciate that.
The deep state. False flags. 9/11 truth. The Federal Reserve. Secret wars and hidden histories. Fake news. Medical martial law. Ceaseless propaganda. James Corbett. Reportage. Essays on the New World Order. Available where books are sold. Until they're not.
reportagebook.com